Good morning and welcome to the Public Protection of Licensing Committee. May I remind everybody present that the meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording archived for future viewings. Okay, now we move on to item number 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
There's no formal apologies received. Thank you, Chair.
I wanted to pass one on from Councillor Hamilton. Unfortunately, he's tied up in another meeting this morning.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, right. Item number 2 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of February 2022. As Vice Chair, I was present at this meeting, and I'll move these to be a true record. Do I have a seconder for somebody who was at that meeting? Councillor Norman? Thank you. Right, moving on to item number 3, to receive declarations of interest under the Council's Code of Conduct. Do any members present have anything to declare? Nope, I can't see anything. Okay, thank you. And item number 4 is a report from the Operational Manager Legal Services. And this item refers to the Commons Act 2006, application to register land as town or village green, land at the Butts Cowbridge, known as former Cowbridge Grammar School cricket field. Who will be presenting this?
I will, Chair. Jocelyn Ham from Legal Services.
Okay, thank you. Shall I hand over to you now?
Thank you, Chair. This report is being brought to the committee in the Council's role as Commons Registration Authority for the Vale of Glamorgan. It regards, as you've said, an application to register land at the Butts Cowbridge as town or village green. The area in question is also known, as you've said, as the former Cowbridge Grammar School cricket field, and it is shown on a plan appended to the application in Appendix A to the report. The application was made by the Friends of Grammar School cricket field, and the land is owned by the Cowbridge Comprehensive School Trust, who objected to the application. This matter was initially brought before the committee in October 2017, when it was determined that a non-statutory public inquiry should be held and that an independent inspector should be appointed to chair the inquiry. Subsequently, Mr. James Morrick, a barrister from St John's Chambers, Bristol, was appointed, and an inquiry was initially due to be held on the 23rd of March 2020. I think we can all imagine why that was subsequently adjourned. The inquiry was eventually relisted for the 15th and 16th of February this year at Cowbridge Town Hall, which is close to the application site, and an opportunity was given to both attend the inquiry and in person, because the restrictions had lessened at that point, or via the Zoom platform. The inspector heard evidence from both the applicant and the landowner, who, as I've said, objected to the application, and has subsequently submitted a report to the council as Commons Registration Authority. The report sets out the evidence he heard at the inquiry, and he gives a recommendation to the council for its decision. You'll see from the inspector's report at Appendix B to this report that the recommendation is that the application be refused because it has not met the statutory tests under Section 15(2) of the Commons Act 2006. These tests are set out in the report and in the inspector's report. Therefore, the recommendation is to accept the inspector's recommendation and determine the application by way of refusal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do any members want to raise any issues or clarifications? No, I can't see anybody. Oh, Stefan.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Chair. Well, the only thing I'd say is that it's a bit of a sad state of affairs, isn't it? Because obviously there's a bunch of local residents who come together and thought, yeah, we want to, you know, something similar happened in the ward I represent, where a lot of people came together and want to have a village green. And I think there are two reasons why. First of all, it's because I think the underlying thing is that they want to protect it from development, probably, yeah. But I think there's also constructive things as well that they would like to have done with it. But at the end of the day, the trusts weren't happy, so I don't think that there's much we can do about that, is there?
Not a lot. Do any other members want to raise anything? Councillor Fisher?
Hello, yes, good morning. I just want to say that I grew up in Cowbridge, and I know that area has been used. Well, I was surprised by the comments in the report, which indicated that it hadn't had significant use by the residents over the years. Absolutely. Because I played cricket on that ground myself, and rugby while I was in school there. So as I said, I was surprised at that.
Councillor Morgan?
Yes, now I'm sure many of us in our hearts would like to say, oh yes, this must be a village green because that's the right thing to do. But we are obliged to follow the law, which is the statute, which is precedent, and the guidance given by the inspector in his opinion, which I'm sure we've all read and which is very well made out. And he does come to the conclusion that the application falls markedly short of the relevant threshold, and this is an application which I recommend to be dismissed. And we can't really go behind that. I don't, it would be incorrect unless we're challenging the opinion of learned counsel from respected chambers in Bristol, who has given a fair hearing to this. So it's sad for the community, but that's the way it is. This is land which is owned by the school, and it's not simply a question of saying, oh yes, it should be for the community, it should be part of our village green, but it doesn't work that way. And regrettably, the keyboard warriors will be out in force later saying how the Vale Council have turned down this meritorious application, but that's not right. And I would invite anybody who is upset by the application to read Mr. Warwick's final report, because it explains it very thoroughly and explains how we as a council are doing things properly. We haven't just come out on a wing and a prayer saying, oh, we're not going to allow this, we're not going to allow that. We've done it properly, and I think that's something that must go out into the public domain, that we do things properly, and this has gone to a proper inquiry. Everybody's had opportunity to have their say, and the council, Mr. James Warwick, has listened carefully to that. So I think if we get feedback from the public, say, well, the report is there to be read, please read it. But we don't have any choice, I don't think, but to accept the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Jane Norman.
Hello there, thank you, Chair. I went to Cowbridge School. I worked in Cowbridge Grammar School. I know the area quite well. And yes, it has been used by members of the public for many, many years, but it is land belonging to an organisation that refuses to let it be used as a village green, but has accepted that its use without any problem. Right next door to it is a sports facility, another huge area. So they've got plenty of space there, and they've got the bare field as well. There are plenty of green spaces in Cowbridge that they use for different facilities. And as to reiterate what Councillor Morgan said, a learned member of the profession has said no, it does not meet the criteria. And who are we to go against that? I think we've had this before, time and time again. As Councillor Williams said, it's more or less to stop people building there. And I don't think, try and get a covenant on it, that'll stop building on there. But don't try and get it turned into something that the legal representation tells us it's not entitled to be. So I agree with the report.
Thank you, Councillor Norman. Councillor Burnett.
Thank you, Chair. I always think it's quite sad when communities come to a sort of an impasse such as this. This is an area of land that's not in public ownership, but which has been used by locals for their enjoyment over years. And when a body allows usage of their land, they are at risk of such a challenge as this. Being placed on the land, as a council, we have protected a lot of our playing areas by designating them as fields in trust, so that they will be maintained. And you know, the trust that owns this is a trust for the benefit of the people of Cowbridge. This is not some huge multinational that wants to destroy the village. So, you know, we've seen situations before where such applications have resulted in pieces of land being shut off to public use. You know, because of the risk of such designation, such challenges. So, you know, I certainly hope that you know, local people and the trust can continue to enjoy the land together, and to come to some reasonable solution. But I can't do anything other than accept the advice that we've been given. You know, it really is fairly straightforward. It doesn't meet the criteria.
Yeah, thank you very much. Does anybody else want to say anything? It's unfortunate it has taken such a long time, but of course we got snarled up in the pandemic, which sort of stalled things. But I agree with what's been said. Yes, it's unfortunate we've had to go down this route, but I believe we have to go with a recommendation. So so I will move this recommendation, and I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Norman will second that. Are we all in agreement for this? Do you want to take a vote on it? No? No? Right.
Yes, sorry, could we take a vote on it, if that's all right, please?
Okay, I don't know how we're going to do this. I will go back to Democratic to see how we're going to do it.
Hello, Chair. We can just go through the roll call for the members in attendance today, and you can let us know whether or not you're for or against the recommendations.
That'll be fine.
Right,
do you want to start the roll call?
Thank you. Councillor Drake.
For the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Norman.
For the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Bruce.
Abstain.
Abstained. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Burnett.
For the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
Against the recommendation.
Against. Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Against the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Franks.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Goodjohn.
For the recommendation.
Thank you. We've had apologies from Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Hennessy.
Against the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Marshalsea.
For the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
For the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Sivignanum, I don't think she's with us. Let me just check. No, she isn't, sorry. Councillor William?
Against.
Thank you. And Councillor Wilkinson? Hello, Councillor Wilkinson. I can see she's connected by the telephone, but I can't hear what the response is, I'm afraid. Sorry, Chair.
Right. Is that everybody? Yes, I believe it is.
I think so. I think so. On the basis that I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 for, 5 against, and 1 abstain.
So that the motion is carried. The recommendation is carried then.
Yeah, because Councillor Sivignanum isn't with us. Councillor Wilkinson obviously could make a difference depending on whether she was to vote for, against or abstain there. So I can see she's on the call, but I can't hear her, I'm afraid.
I think even if Councillor Wilkinson voted against, the casting vote would be with the chair, who would vote for.
It would. We could move to that point. So I don't know whether you want me to try and connect to Councillor Wilkinson separately, but she is on the telephone at the moment.
I think it's academic, isn't it?
But we've got 6 for and 5 against currently, with 1 abstention.
So even if it was 6-6.
Hello.
Anyway.
Can you vote? Right. Hang on. I've got Councillor Wilkinson on the phone, and she's saying for the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Norman.
Thank you.
Chair, point of order. Can Councillor Wilkinson comment on whether she heard the arguments or not?
She did hear them, but she was unable to make herself. She heard all the arguments, and she was unable to make herself heard on the phone.
Okay.
Thank you. It was worth clarifying that. Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. So that's 7 for and 5 against, with 1 abstention, Chair.
Right, thank you very much. Well, obviously the recommendation is being carried now. Thank you for all your participation on this item, which is a very, very difficult item. So we'll have to move on now to item number 5, which is the report from the Director of Environment and Housing, and it's an application for approval as an authorised Hackney Carriage meter tester, A to Z Taxi Vale of Glamorgan Limited. I believe who's delivering this?
I will, Councillor.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I can't always see people on the screen.
That's okay. Okay, so thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. The purpose of this report is to consider an application from A to Z Taxi Vale of Glamorgan Limited to test Hackney carriage meters for use in the Vale of Glamorgan. It is recommended that the application is approved by the members, and the reason for the recommendation is to provide Hackney carriage proprietors in the Vale of Glamorgan with a greater choice of approved meter testers. The background is the Vale of Glamorgan Council's conditions for Hackney carriage estate. The proprietor of Hackney carriage vehicle, of course, shall produce annually to the licensing authority a certificate issued by a meter installer approved by the licensing authority, stating that the meter is accurate and contains only the current Vale of Glamorgan Council Hackney carriage tariff. There are currently only 6 approved meter testers in the Vale of Glamorgan. So the application that the members are asked to consider has been received on the 24th of March 2022 by A to Z Taxi Vale of Glamorgan Limited, and they ask for the application to be approved to test meters supplied by Viking Electronics Limited, and as a consequence to issue meter certificates for Hackney carriage licensed by the authority. The application that's been received is attached to Appendix A of this report, and it contains details of the intended mile that will be used by A to Z to test the calibrations. The proposed mile, just for clarification, has been tested, has been measured, and it is confirmed to be correct. The 2 applications that have been used by the authority, but they've also been confirmed with the highways, are Map My Run and the GIS mapping. A to Z also supplied copies of the taxi meter certificate at Appendix B of the report, which also contains the current tariff approved by the Council. At Appendix C of the report is a letter supplied by A to Z from Viking Electronics Ltd, the meter supplier basically, and they authorize A to Z to be a tester for the company. And the report is submitted for your consideration.
Thank you. Do any members want to ask any questions or seek clarification? No, I can't see any hands raised. Right, the recommendation is that the application for A to Z taxi of Vale of Glamorgan is approved. The reason is given on page 2 of this item 1. I am more than happy to move this recommendation. And do I have a seconder? Are we all agreed? Oh, Councillor Norman was the seconder. Are we all agreed with this? Thank you very much. Right then.
Thank you.
Let's see now. Item number 6. Sorry, I turned the page over. Any items the chair has decided urgent under part 1, which I got nothing urgent. So then we will now move to part 2 of the agenda, which the public and press may be excluded from this meeting. So I presume the recording is now stopped. I will move part 2, and do I have a seconder for this?
Seconded.
Right, that's fine. Now we'll now move into part 2.